Hi everybody, I'm Brent Keast and welcome to Faces of Our Town. We bring you interviews of people who are the faces of our town, and one of our faces is Mr. Charley Carlin. And we've known each other for a while, and so we figured, you know, why not interview each other?
That's part of the party of life, isn't it?
That's right. But Charley is he's an IT man, and he is an expert on social media, and he's an expert on how you can use social media in your life. I used to be a very technical guy and find that slowly through age I have lost touch with that sort of thing, and I know that it would be a great help to me. And so here we have an expert, and he can kind of fill us in. Today we're going to be talking about LinkedIn.
Thank you, Brent. That's wonderful. Great introduction. I appreciate that. But what I'm looking at is there are so many things, and the word social media is such a buzz right now. There's so many things to talk about. We're just going to look at LinkedIn just a little bit today, because LinkedIn, as you look at it, I believe it's the human resources of the future.
Really?
It is where people put their resumes out there, they put their educational background, they put all of their things in their profile, and it can be useful to everybody.
Now let me stop you for a second. We're talking about resumes. I'm not really looking for a job. Why would I want to do something like that?
Well, every one of us has a digital footprint, and our digital footprints are in various sizes. And as a member of the planet, I don't know about you, but for me anyway, in my career, I'm not sure I even going to remember all the things I did. Well, what it does is whenever people deal with you, whether it's a vendor or another client or somebody, this is part of your digital footprint, and people look you up. And LinkedIn is where they find you, so you probably want to have a good-looking profile out there.
So now what's the difference, say, between Facebook and LinkedIn?
Well, Facebook is another wonderful piece of social media, and I think we'll cover that probably in another interview. But when I try to compare the two, initially people think that LinkedIn is all about jobs, getting a new job, and communicating with professional people, and that's probably pretty true. But it's also a place to where people can see who you are and what you're made of and what your background is, to see whether they want to connect up and do business with you or whether they want to hire you.
So just putting some kind of little blurb on LinkedIn is not using the system as you should.
Oh no, you want to tell the truth. You know, I was working with a fellow who was a CEO, and I said, put everything out there. And he went and put his life all the way back to being a paper boy, and it showed a great progression, and it's nothing that you wouldn't reveal in a conversation or an interview. And even if you're not looking for a job, even if you say, I've got one and I like it, well, if you document where all that stuff was and you've got it all there, you won't lose it. Plus, it just adds a little bit of character to your digital footprint.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's say that I was a person that had my own business and not necessarily thinking about trying to find some sort of validation to some CEO.
Sure.
Why would I use LinkedIn for that?
Well, LinkedIn there has got some very useful value, and that is people check out who they're buying things from. They check you out online. You get looked up. You get looked up for all kinds of things. And in doing so, you have the ability to also be helpful to others. And when I say that, it's like if you're dealing with a vendor or an employee who's done well or good for you, you have the ability to write recommendations and give them endorsements. And let's face it, there are other people that you can help. And if somebody else, not you, was looking for a job in their career, because nobody seems to stay anywhere forever now, well, guess what? You could help them along, because if you had two people you were looking at and everything was equal and one had a bunch of endorsements and some letters of recommendation, hey, then if you see that letter of recommendation, what are they going to do? They're going to say, who's it from? And they'll look him up. So you want yours to look good if you're going to recommend somebody, so that when whoever checks them out looks at you, says, oh, God, they're recommended by this guy who runs his own business or is a CEO or whatever he is.
So now let's say that you're a beginner and you wanted to get involved and get LinkedIn. What would be some of the first things that you would do?
Well, there's a whole list of things that you do, and there's there's a variety of way people put those out, but basically you want to just start to fill everything out. And LinkedIn actually has a series of menu things that it walks you through, so that you get a good quality picture, and you put all your education, and you put all your last jobs and all your last titles and what you're interested in, and all those things make up your digital footprint. Just fill it out and do it nicely, and use good grammar, just as if you were making a resume for your best position ever, because it represents you.
Now, let's say that you have a lot of experience at things such as LinkedIn. What are some of the steps that you can do to increase your digital footprint, make it look a little better?
Explain things well. Make sure that the things that you list for skills are the skills that are current for you. And if you had several positions, list different positions. I think it's also important to put in things like, what do you volunteer for? Is there things you do around your town? Are there things that help make up your life? You can add those in. And what happens is they just show a whole picture of a whole person, as opposed to somebody who just says, 5 years of this, 5 years of that, and so on. It'll help you in the long run, and it is the HR of the future. I think everybody needs to participate.
Now, you're the expert. What are some of the things that people don't think of when they think of social media, like LinkedIn?
Well, what do people don't think of? Let's see. How can I think of a not thought?
Yeah,
that's quite an interesting question.
Don't you love double negatives?
It's such a question that I'm going to say, well, there are people who don't think it's a requirement for them, and you don't have to. Nobody has to. And if you don't need it, don't do it. But I always think, why not do it? Why not be helpful? Because we all are interacting with other people, and how else can I express that, say, thank you for doing a good job at this, or thank you for when you were employed at my company, even though I don't have it anymore. Thank you for whatever, and endorse the people who were good. And, hey, you've helped make the world a better place. And for me, that's a good idea.
Maybe what I really wanted to say, are there any inside tricks that you would like to express to our viewers on how to use it?
You bet. Inside tricks. Start, fill it all out. That's a trick.
Yeah.
You say, well, that's not a trick. That makes sense. Well, why do so many people neglect it?
Yeah. Yours truly.
Fill it out completely in great detail. Don't try to do it all at once. Just do a little every week, whatever. But just you start to do a little bit. And then have somebody else read it who's a friend of yours and say, proofread it, help make it okay. Get a nice picture, not a picture of your dog, a picture of you. Yeah. Something that represents you professionally. There are hundreds of millions of people there, and connect up with your friends. Give endorsements when they are deserved. Give recommendations when they're deserved, and recognize people. It's another way to just help make the world a better place. The trick is take action.
Excellent. Well, Charlie, we're looking at probably a series of interviews here with you.
Oh, you bet.
As the world of social media gets bigger and bigger, and I know that people are a little bit afraid of admitting that they're not totally plugged in. Maybe they're afraid of social media, and I think that we might be able to
you bet.
uncover some really important...
and we'll go over some of the reasons of that, try to get rid of some of the fears, tell you why, give you more whys, it's a good thing, and less things to be afraid of, and just go forward and just get connected and make that digital footprint just be solid as a rock.
Charley Carlin, you're really one of the true faces of our community, and stay tuned, because we will have more of these, and we will find out how to tackle this incredible social media that we're all kind of in the dark about. But Charley's he's the expert. So
thanks, Brent. I appreciate your time.
See you soon.